I'd like to welcome you to day 2 of the conference, and we hope you had a good time last night. And the reason for the music is it gives a sort of festival atmosphere. We consider ourselves not merely a conference, but a sort of whole festival of data protection. Look at it from all angles. And those of you who are here with us tonight know we have a choir provided by the wonderful Allen and Overy singers. And so that was a Slovenian choir. Slovenia distinguished at the moment, or not distinct because they have not adopted a national law, but I'm sure when that was recorded 10 years ago, no one was thinking about adequacy and national implementing legislation. So we won't say that because we're here and we're going to talk about Brexit in the first session. Now, yesterday people were saying we don't want to talk about Brexit, but today, this morning, we do. And so we have a very distinguished panel here. We've got John Bowman, nearest to me. He was formerly negotiating for the UK government, but now he's consulting part of Promontory. Got Elizabeth Stafford, who now is negotiating on behalf of the UK. And with Urs Maurer, who is head of international for the Swiss Federal Commission. And we'll explain in a moment why that is important. So let's go to the first slide. So yes, here we are at the first slide. So there is a continuum of being outside or inside the European Union. All we hear about in the United Kingdom is whether we should be in or out. But there is a middle position, and Parliament has voted not to leave without a deal. So that suggests there should be some kind of middle way. And there are 2 middle ways so far that we know about. One is being a member of the European Economic Area, as we say, Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein model. We had Icelandic Commissioner here last year. We've been to Norway to do an interview. We published that interview. And we interviewed the Liechtenstein Commissioner, which we published in the most recent Blue International report. So we know something about those countries. We've got the European Free Trade Association, with Switzerland is the additional member there, where there are a number of national trade agreements. So Switzerland, part of the single market with free trade, part of the EU, but not part of the political institutions. And then the more distant away, those countries with customs union agreements. Turkey is the one that's usually mentioned, but also the very small countries of Monaco, Andorra, and San Marino. Now, I took the trouble, having done all this research and met various commissioners, to write a letter to the Prime Minister in October. Now, it's in your folder, so I'm obviously not going to read it all out. But I'm saying that in this letter, from the data protection perspective, from what we know about the position of those countries in the European Economic Area and Switzerland, it would be best to stay in one of these organisations and not leave completely the European Union. So, pointed out in point number 3, Norway's Supreme Court still applies its jurisdiction where necessary. Point 5, the Data Protection Commission in the EEA countries still actively engage with their opposite numbers in the European Data Protection Board, and Norway and the other EE countries have a role in the one-stop shop. So it's very actively involved. Also, rather critically, a point that came out yesterday with Karolina Milosevic from the European Commission, by staying in the EA rather than leaving, the UK Data Protection Act 2018 would not be subject to a critical review by the European Commission, because there's some political tension, the idea of the UK leaving, and to stay in the club would be very sensible to keep everything going smoothly. So I got a response after a while. That was written in October. If you turn over the page, or rather do that, you'll see I first got a response from the Scottish Government, because I wrote not only to the UK Government, but also the Scottish Government and Her Majesty's opposition, the Labour Shadow Minister on this subject. I only got responses, the 2 I'm showing you now. Scottish Government said we would prefer to stay in, or if not, in the 3rd paragraph you'll see it says the Scottish Government would prefer to be in the European Economic Area as second best. Finally, 3rd of January, the Department for Exiting the European Union responded to say, we can't be in the European Economic Area, but we would like the UK to be regarded as adequate, and you can read all that in due course. And they're sort of stating confidently that the UK's strengthened standards that it would meet the EU standard. Now, that's not clear for sure because the EU is not happy with the idea of UK leaving, and many in the UK, remember pretty well half the country of the UK were not happy with leaving. So it's on a knife edge, and I have a lot of sympathy for the UK negotiating team who have to steer their way through that.